For decades, women in Nigeria have stood at the front lines of campaigns. They've mobilized voters and they've also shaped political outcomes. Yet, they remain shockingly underrepresented in elective office. As the 2027 elections draw closer, a new wave of female politicians is pushing against the odd or the old walls of patriarchy, violence, and party marginalization. Now, from courtroom advocates to grassroots organizers, more women are daring to run, not just rally. Now, but breaking into Nigeria's political space comes with heavy cost. First of all, there's financial exclusion, there's also character attacks, there's internal party resistance, and at times, outright intimidation. Still, voices are demanding visibility, equity, and a seat at the table.
So today we ask, can 2027 be the turning point for women's representation, or will history repeat itself? So joining us to unpack these challenges and possibilities, well, we've got very interesting guests here. We have Princess Oyefusi, lawyer and former Labour Party deputy governorship candidate in Lagos State. Princess, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Lagos.
Mm-hmm. Morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
And good morning, Africa.
It is a conversation based on women and how powerful you guys are. I will take a little back seat here. But Judith.
I want to count down to the time he finally joins us, okay?
Okay.
But welcome onto the program, right? You have stepped into the race as a woman in Lagos politics far back. And you have, you've seen the works at all sides, whether it is campaigning, trying to vie for a ticket, and then seeing how it played out, and even after the elections. I have to ask you first, what are the first barrier that you had to break, and how did the system respond to your ambition? Let's start there.
Thank you. That is a very, very brilliant question. The first barrier any female candidate has to break, as I faced as well, is the fact that you're a woman. That is a quote and unquote barrier that stands in your way. It's there because of a lot of reasons, because of our culture, because of our mentality, because of our education, because of our history. So the fact that you're female and you're a woman already is a barrier for you to overtake, because you have to prove yourself that not only can you do the man's job, but you can do it better. So you are having to constantly prove yourself at every stage, be it parties, meetings, committees, be it primaries, be it general election. That barrier is there, that underestimation, that quote and unquote, I don't want to use the word, women can't do anything. They're good for the kitchen, they're good for raising family. But they have forgotten that it is the woman that raised the family, that builds the generation, that raised the family, that builds the compassion, that builds the intelligence, that builds the community. So if a woman can do that in her home, you can be rest assured that we can do that. And we have been proving that we can do that in the community, in the society, in leadership. If you look at the private sector right now, women are thriving. They are making a huge difference. They are impacting in banking, in engineering. It is the woman that wakes up in that, the market woman that wakes up at 4 a.m. in the morning, look after the children, get the children ready, and as well go and lead the market, go to the market to do that entrepreneurship, to earn that money, to support the family. So it's that we need to, first of all, take out that mentality, that mindset that women cannot lead Nigeria. Women cannot rule Nigeria. We need to take that barrier. That's the first barrier you see. You see it happening in the Senate. You see it happening in the NAS. You see it happening in the Assembly. Even our past president has gone on international stage to say, my wife, kitchen, that other room. So that barrier, that cultural, that environmental society barrier is there for you to overtake in the first case. That you must break that. That's what I firstly faced before we now go to the men's world, quote and unquote. The political arena of Nigeria is a men's club. You have to break it down. You have to break it down into tiny, tiny pieces, then rebuild it and rebuild yourself to achieve that goal and to make that impact in society.
And I'm glad you've put, all of the barriers, starting from the home front society, even before getting to politics, knowing fully well that Nigeria's politics is a men's game. And so I have to ask you about what you had to tackle in the party as well, the party politics. Were there pushbacks trying to get a ticket to be, to be a running mate with your running mate there for the position of governorship? What was it like? What were the pushbacks within your party?
That's quite interesting. I didn't actually have any pushback in terms of running mate. I did not apply for the job. I was chosen. In fact, I actually rejected it for a very long time. But because I believed in the vision that we were driving, that wanted to be driven, and that's why I finally accepted it. But the real pushback was in 2019 when I contested as the Lagos East senatorial candidate under the PDP party. That's when I saw the real barriers and the obstacles that women face in going through primaries, in going through the party processes to get the candidacy. That it's a lot more harder. It's a lot more harder. It's a lot more intense. It requires a lot more intelligence. It requires a lot more proving of yourself to even get on that paper, to even get on that ballot, because primaries already, you're dealing with delegates, you're dealing with the party structures, you're dealing with the leaders, you're dealing with the members. You have to go out there to every local government, to every group in your party to sell yourself and to prove that you are the best candidate that they've got. You are the candidate that can make that change, that can make that impact, that can lead the party and lead the people, that you are here to serve. And you are here for the people. You're not here for a few elites, or you're not here for a particular group. You are here for the people and to deliver good governance. So you needed to have a vision, a clear vision, a concise vision of what you want to achieve and your goal. And you have to drive it. You have to drive it, and you have to sell it to the people. So that barrier is harder. And when you finally overcome that, then you come to the barrier of money. You have to raise that money. And you are going into a men's club to raise that money. Mm-hmm. So you are selling yourself constantly to the sponsors, the funders, the party. You constantly have to sell yourself as a better candidate, as a candidate with the vision, with the drive, with the objective, with the impact that will carry the party and carry the vision of the party, carry the vision of the leaders, carry the vision of the society, and deliver that for the benefit. So you needed to be, I don't want to say, you needed to be smart. Let me use that word. You have to play smart politics. Okay. You have to be, you cannot play noisy politics. You have to, because you are selling yourself against a set ways of doing things, a set norm, a set motto, a set
process system,
a set
I get you, Princess.
Mode.
Yes,
so you needed to break that mode.
We get you,
so
Princess.
In breaking that mode, that is what is going to get you there.
Okay, Princess, this is where I step in now, because I have a very interesting question here. I am partial to women in politics. I think women have done so. Yeah, I think women have done quite a lot. And I think that if you take the efforts of women in politics and juxtapose it against those of men, you'd find out that they actually are, well, naturally just nurturers, whether you like it or not. And I think that that's something that has to go into research. There must be someone who should take a look at the efforts of women who have brushed or played inside of the political scape and put forward their achievements as against what we have with men. And I think we'll have some effort there. But let's talk about representation and tokenism. I'm wondering if women are being pushed into politics as a sense of inclusion, or is it inclusion, or is it genuine influence? Are we saying that women should be in offices because we want to fill a quota, or because there is a real need for them to actually be there? Why are we doing this push?
You see, we're doing it for both of the reasons that you have said. First of all, we need equality in our society. For 2 decades, take Lagos for example, men has ruled Lagos. The male gender has ruled Lagos. And when the successful men, we're not saying they haven't done anything, or they have not achieved great success. They have built buildings, they built roads, they built a few institutions here and there. But now we need deeper leadership with vision and compassion, leadership with intelligence, and leadership with empathy, We need, and that is all the things that makes a woman a good leader. You will find, if you look at countries where women are the lead, from the various, from United Kingdom to Germany to New Zealand to Liberia to the new prime minister elected now in Japan is a woman. You can see the agenda moving. You see when Ngozi Iweala was leading the economy, the way she drove that economy. You see all the great leaders. You see from Layora Samkuti, the way she drove the agenda for equality for women, inclusiveness for women. You have to use the law. You have to use the law, and you have to use the education. If you don't use the law, you cannot achieve equality. United States taught us that. They needed affirmative action, affirmation to bring the black people into equality. You have to bring law that supports the efforts that you are trying to do, because the law, we live in a society that is regulated by law, by morale. And if you are trying to bring equality, the gender, you need a law to back it up, to empower. We live in a discriminating society. Without the law, the drive and the effort of the women will not be complemented. So and that is why the United Nations, they passed the 35 affirmative equality for position for women at all levels. We have to have that. Nigeria signed up to that, but we have not implemented that in Nigeria. If you give women that 35 position, you will start to see the gender, the equality, the justice balancing themselves out. So that is the case. But at the same time, you as a woman, you have to have the vision and the passion to achieve. You cannot put a woman there in position that is not interested, that is fearful. If you do not have the drive to get up and say, I want to impact my society, I want to make a difference, I want to empower women and that girl child, that the first obstacle that you are going to hit, you are going to run back. Because there's obstacle constantly on the road. There's obstacle all the way to the top. You will meet obstacles, and you will face that even bigger challenge than your male counterpart. So if you're not determined, if you do not want to succeed, then giving you that thing on the platter of God does not help you. Does not help you at all. But if you have that sort of support, it cushions where we're going. It cushions that the ability to overcome, the ability to achieve. It cushions it makes the processes and the route smoother for you. So we need both the two arms, the legislation and the drive and the push for women to work together and to achieve more. There is power in numbers.
Right, but there's also,
and that is what we're suffering at NAS and at Senate, because we don't have numbers.
Right, Princess. There's also another issue of the dwindling number of women in politics, whether appointed or elected, which we're going to get into. But I also do have to talk about something that has been at the forefront when it comes to politics in Nigeria, and that is how expensive it is, whether it's in trying to get a ticket, whether it's in getting support from party faithfuls, or also campaigning as well. So how has finance played into all of this, especially with women aspirants?
Nigerian politics, don't let's kid ourselves and don't let's deceive ourselves. It's about money. And if you come into Nigerian politics, you have to appreciate that. If you do not appreciate that, that's your first failure point right there. Because it takes the money for you to campaign within the party. It takes the money for you to campaign outside the party. It takes the money for you to campaign in the general election and to campaign and for the support, for the materials, for everything that you are going to need. That is why I said earlier on that it's a men's club. And when you get into that men's club, you get into that fundraising. When you go to raise funds for your election, you might be the only woman sitting with around about 5-10 men and trying to sell yourself, trying to get that money off them to support you for election. There's no getting away from fundraising. You have to be able to raise funds. You have to have support of your families, your friends. You raise the fund to get you off the ground. And that's why we're building women organizations to also support women. We're reaching out to international organizations that are supporting women to achieve that leadership position. So if we come together as one, it's easier for us to achieve that agenda. We can support each other. That's why I always say that when you get to Senate, it is your responsibility to pull that women up at the councillor, at the assembly. You must put them up in your constituency, in your what? You must use your resources to support them and also help them to raise resources. That makes the fundraising, the money barrier, it reduces that hardship, that difficulties in raising that money. Then you get the funding also. If you're lucky to have a party that supports that support their candidate, they don't leave everything to the candidate. Sometimes you get support from the party in terms of your campaign materials, or your polling unit and all that stuff. You get support for other candidates as well, that maybe the presidential candidate or the governorship candidates that support you. But the moment you get that candidacy, you get that ticket, and that ticket is yours, you will find out that the fundraising process becomes a lot easier. And so it's getting from where you are to getting the ticket. That is where you have to do a lot of the fundraising yourself. You have to reach out for a lot of NGOs, a lot of support. You have to have the ability to get yourself to that point of the ticket.
So bootstrapping.
But once you get the ticket, the more doors of fundraising and support start to open for you.
Okay. Well, Princess, my question would be based on young women who might be looking forward to going into politics. We've been talking about this push for women in politics, but then we have an epidemic where young people are, very apathetic about politics generally. So it must be doubly difficult to get young women to key into politics. So how are people in your position helping young women note that there is room for them when it comes to governance?
For us, it's a very sad case, because you're right. Young women are leaving the political landscape. They're not motivated to go into the political landscape for a combined number of reasons. The first one is that the landscape itself is not conducive. The political environment of Nigeria does not show that the voters count, the vote of the people count. It's too violent. And so the husband in the house, the father of the wife in the house, worry for that daughter, worry for that wife, and says, no, you're not going out there. It is too violent. So the tempo of the Nigeria politics is too high and too violent and too money-driven. So when they look at all that factor together, the young people say, no, the Nollywood has made it easier for young women, the private sector has made it easier for young women. I go there. But they have forgotten that it's some people that actually did that battle in that sector for them to lay the foundation, to lay the ground. So politics, if you look, that environment does not help. The institutions of Nigerians does not help. The political parties themselves, you see, they have these processes and their policies in their constitution that says you must give 35% of position to women. At least I know PDP has it. I have that constitution. I know, I suspect that Labour has it, but and ADC is shouting it from the top of their voice, and they have been proving it in all their selection and in all their appointment to the interim working committee. So when you actually implement what you have in your party policies, you have in your party manifestos and agenda, that will give encouragement to that girl child, to that young people that wants to come into politics. That at least I know if I go to PDP, they are implementing a 35% policies for women. It makes my journey a lot easier. Then you have another thing that you have that discourages the girl child the most is the dingling number of politics. We went from 10, or is it 14, the time of Jonathan. Now we're down to 4 in Senate. God knows how many is in their house. You look at that. Look at the elections that just take place. The local government election, Lagos State, for example. They had a few women. Out of all the candidates, just about a few of them were elected, and all of them are dying. So what does it give? What motivation does it give to the girl child, or does it give to the women? We've never had an elected female governor. We've had people come close, but they've never been elected publicly to office. They've never served a full term. We've never had an elected vice president of Nigeria. We've never had an elected CBN, a selected CBN governor, INEC chairman. Can we start to name them? When the institutions of Nigeria denied women, you deny that guy, you deny that hope, you
Princess.
deny that. There's a lot of factors combining into it, so that does not motivate the young people to go in.
Right, Princess, I must say thank you for taking out the time to join us and just really touching on the very important and pertinent high points when it comes to gender equity in our governance, but most importantly, participation for women. I have to say, APC as a mega party, the question is it also a men's club as well, given how we've seen defections? But we're going to get into that in a later date. I must say thank you once again for joining us. Princess Oyefusi, she is the former running mate for the Labour Party for the Lagos gubernatorial elections of 2023.